Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush episode review. This time we are going to be going over episode 5 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, which was the episode that saw Yuhi take on Kawaii in a duel. It saw the debut of Earthdamar and a very weird explanation as to what Earthdamar is. I'm still kind of confused 24 whole hours later. And it saw the formal on-screen, in-the-flesh debut of Yugioh, who is obviously going to be the antagonist, rival of this entire show, or at least of the first season and the arc that we're currently in. So it was a loaded episode. I did not expect to get nearly as much as we did. And overall, I thought it was a very solid episode. There were a couple of elements that I didn't really love, and I guess I have to start with the obvious one. I'm very surprised at how tutorial-like this show has been, even 5 episodes in. In episode 5 for Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, we were past the main group duels, and I believe it was Luke versus Bakuro, if I'm remembering that correctly. And I think the tutorial-like explanations were pretty much over with by episodes 2 or 3. I really only remember those first 2 episodes being very tutorial-like, and I felt in this episode there was a good chunk of the duel where it was either Kawaii explaining to Yugioh or Yuhi explaining to Yugioh about trap cards, set cards. We even saw that the first 3 attacks that Yuhi did on the 3 Kawaii set monsters, one was defeated, one crashed, meaning they had the same attack and defense. So, crashed is the wrong word. Nothing happened. And then one was too weak due to a trap card usage. And of course, those are the 3 different outcomes that your attacking monster can have when it attacks a defense position monster. So that felt very structured. It made that whole first turn of Yuhi feel a little predictable in a way. And I felt like that was the first time this show really where the tutorial element I didn't think was done incredibly well, personally, but, you know, I get that the director still wants to appeal to new people. Rush Duel is still a pretty new concept in Japan, even. I mean, it's only been out for a little over 2 years, and if you didn't watch Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s and you're just watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, I get wanting to appeal to those newer fans. So it's not a huge complaint at all, but I would much rather be complaining about something like that, something that I know will go away in a couple of weeks, than where the story is going, because I absolutely love where the story is going, and that is way more important than, you know, maybe being too tutorialized in the early stages of a show. So Yuhi has his dry cleaning all screwed up, and the gimmick with Kawaii is that he is a Kappa. And if you don't know, Kappa are turtle-like creatures in Japanese folklore. They are feared as the scourge of Japanese waterways, and they love cucumbers. Now, something that I thought was hilarious was that Kawaii's ace monster was like riding like a cucumber-like jet ski. I believe it was like Kappa Cucumber River Slider or something like that. And as someone who loves cryptozoology, as someone who loves cryptids, it's something that I really enjoy. I'm going to enjoy learning about new cryptids like Kappa that I actually didn't know beforehand. And I'm going to enjoy seeing those cryptids done in a really good and well-executed way. And so the gimmick with Kawaii is that he is always parched, and that's what Kawaii also means. It's kind of a play on words. Very similarly, from my understanding, to Omae no Ushido, where that meant I'm standing right behind you, and that was also his name. Very similar to that. So being a dry cleaner is obviously a terrible job for this guy, because he is always drenched. He is always dripping water, and therefore every time he's drying off clothes, the clothes remain soaking wet. I don't know how this place is still in business. I don't know how this place hasn't been shut down yet. Also, the weird girl from the ending shots is working for Kawaii very innocently, of course. She's been in every single episode, I think, but the first one. So when is she going to actually be properly introduced? I have no idea, but they keep fitting her into every episode. And yeah, I have no idea how this business is even remotely operatable when the guy who's drying off the clothes continues to drip water onto it. and can't properly do the job. And so Yuhi comes in, pissed as hell, and wants to speak to the manager, who is Kawhi. Kawhi traps him downstairs in a basement, meets him in the basement, and says, all right, if you beat me, you can have your Earthdamar back. If I beat you, you have to remain in this box for the rest of your life so I can do experiments on you and quench my endless thirst for research. So that was something that I actually really loved about Kawhi's character. Not necessarily him wanting to trap Yuhi in a box for the next 50, 60, 70 years, but rather the fact that he is driven and motivated, wanting to know as much information as possible. He is always motivated by learning and gaining new info. It reminded me a little bit of Nail, where Nail is always trying to kind of learn new things for Providence, and I think that's always a really cool driving force for a character when they want to know more about the way things work, when they want to increase their intelligence stat, if you will. And I always like when it's particularly villain characters, because sometimes you see them go to those extremes that are just absolutely wicked, and I felt like if he won this duel, what he would have done to Yuhi probably would have qualified for that, honestly. And it all stems from him wanting to know more about this weird substance called Earthdamar. And so Yuhi was also really well portrayed in this episode, facing eternal trapment by this character that has already beaten him in a duel. Not only does Yuhi stand up to Kawhi, but he stands up with the assistance and trust of the 8.88 million Velgirian countrymen that all gained trust in Yuhi and all basically accepted Yuhi as one of their own because of what he did in the previous episode. So I love when actions in past episodes tie into future episodes, especially when it's back-to-back episodes here like we had in 4 and 5. Yuhi's actions for what he did for the Velgirian cluster in episode 4, and the countrymen more specifically, carries directly into episode 5, and these 8.88 million countrymen all support Yuhi and work very hard to get him an operatable dual disc, since his dual disc was soaking wet due to Kawhi Tell's horrible dry cleaning ability, and that allows Yuhi to overcome the fact that he doesn't have a dual disc. And so seeing that trust that Yuhi had with these countrymen really made me root for him by the end of this duel. And Yuhi as a character, I definitely think this was probably his best episode. Obviously, he goes on to summon his ace, Joint Tech Rex. I felt very good about Yuhi winning this duel. He was the only one of the main three that had not yet won, and he lost his debut duel, and he already lost to Kawhi Tell in a previous duel that was done off screen. And so Yuhi summons Joint Tech Rex, and he goes on to win thanks to the activation of a trap that was only able to be activated because he rallied and spurred those countrymen on to victory. And I thought that was a really cool moment as well, because it showed really good leadership skills, and I'm sure that's something that Yugioh can relate to a lot. Obviously, these 8.88 million Velgirian citizens all respect Yugioh to the highest degree, and the fact that they were able to take orders and believe in Yuhi to the degree that they did, I think is a really, really good sign of maybe the parallels that you can already see developing between Yuhi and Yugioh, and even how much Yugioh has maybe rubbed off on Yuhi in the early going when it comes to those leadership abilities. And so Yuhi ends up getting the win thanks to the assistance of the Velgirians and the good dueling skills, and he beats Kawhi Tell. And Kawhi, who I liked a lot in this episode, thought Kawhi's seriousness was a good counterweight for Yuhi, whereas Chupataro was more cracked out, and he was a great counterweight for Yuumu, who is way more serious and not as comedic and goofy as her twin brother Yuhi. So I loved the balance there between those duels. I think the matchups were perfectly done. I'm sure the stuff that everyone wants to talk about, rightfully so, happens at the end of this episode with the Earthdamar. So Yuhi opens up the Earthdamar, and apparently the Earthdamar is a substance that belongs in Yuhi's body, which is very weird. My first question is, how the hell did he extract it from his body? Is this like a DNA sample? Is it something internally? Is it some sort of liquid like sweat or saliva that he manifested into something like a different substance? Like I have a lot of questions regarding what the hell Earthdamar even is, if it belongs inside of Yuhi's body. And what's even more weird is Yuhi opens this up and we see this weird aura come out of the container, and it looks like it's a silhouette of Yuhi. And Yuhi, interestingly enough, said that his dueling abilities has gotten worse since he lost his Earthdamar. So is this like a spirit that he has within him, similar to what we've seen with like Yugi and Atem, Yuma and Astral? Not really Playmaker and I, but something maybe a little more magical here at play. Luke, Phantom Luke, to a degree, even though they didn't have much synergy within each other. Is that what we're working on here? Is that what we're foreshadowing here? That Yuhi has like a Yami Yuhi, if you will? I think that's the best comparison that you can make, like Yugi and Yami Yugi. I have no idea. That's kind of what it looks like, though. But if that's what it is, if it's another like version of Yuhi or a spirit within him, why is it so important to Yugioh and these aliens? Also, Kawhi knows about the Valgyrian star cluster. Now, maybe he only knows about it because of Yugioh. I think it's pretty fair to say that him and Yugioh have been working together. I think all three of them, including Chupataro, probably have been at this point. And was Kawhi only being nice to Yuhi and his friends at the end because he knew that Yugioh was going to swoop in and use like a vacuum or a poltergeist? It reminded me of what like Luigi uses in the Luigi's Mansion games, like the Poltergeist 3000, and scoop up the Earthdamar before Yuhi and his friends would actually get it. Is maybe that why Kawhi was being nice at the end? And that's exactly why I think I liked this episode so much. There are so many theories right now, and a lot of it revolve around the Earthdamar. I mean, you can talk about the Earthdamar at length right now. And the other aspect that I want to also point out is I felt like Kawhi or someone, maybe it was Yugioh, manipulated the Earthdamar. I don't know if anyone else got that vibe, and the only reason I feel that way is because Yuhi, when he takes it out, right before Yugioh comes actually, Yuhi goes, he says something along the lines of, "What did you do?" Or "What are you giving me?" Or "Why are you giving me this?" Implying that like it's not real. But it's just, it was a weird thing to say. And one of my, I would say, kind of crack theories right now is the Yuhi that we see is not actually Yuhi. It's an alien that maybe took Yuhi's place. And that's how this Yuhi alien has the ability to detect other aliens with the hair thing. And maybe the Earthdamar is the real Yuhi. Or, I don't know. I really don't know. That's, again, a working kind of out there theory. But man, oh man, the Earthdamar and Yugioh's interest in it is so interesting. And of course, the Yugioh-Udius stare down at the end. Udius realizing Yugioh is alive and seeing how serious Udius was in regards to it, especially when Manabu and Neanderstar told the group that a Valgyrian was behind all of this. It's about to get real, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot wait for the next few episodes. I would say this is probably the best ending to an episode that we have had so far in Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, especially from a story perspective. A really well done episode. But guys, those are my thoughts on episode 5 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. Please let me know all your thoughts down below. Thank you as always so much for watching. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, and Jarrett Buller, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Latrell Smith, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, Ccapacappuuu and Syn Cloud. To everyone who supports me on Patreon, and to everyone who is a YouTube channel member, thank you so much. The extra support means the world to me, and it allows me to make videos on a semi-daily basis, and I am forever indebted to you guys. Seriously, thank you so much. And definitely check out my channel membership feature and my Patreon for some extra channel perks. And thank you guys all so much for watching. Please leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Be sure to check out my channel for some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime content. And I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.